All right. Buenos tardes. My name is John. I trust everybody is doing good. The late afternoon, and so I know at times it's difficult to stay up. Originally from Ghana, but based in the US. And just about 11 months ago, we purchased some of you may be familiar with Azure Minerals. We purchased all their interests in Mexico. And so just want to give you a bit of an update on where we're at in the sense of the company and all the key things that we're intending to do. So it's not going to be in-depth, it's going to be more general. But feel free to let me know subsequent to this if you have questions. All right, so I'll be making some forward-looking statements. So I always say this jokingly, that when I make these statements, some of them are in respect to our business plans. And so say, don't take me to court, but we'll deliver on them. All right, so I've been asked many times, why did you buy all those assets? 8 projects from Azure Minerals. Why did you buy them? And we saw an opportunity. It was very attractive to us. So Bendito Resources is currently private. And our focus is not really the very early stage projects. We are more advanced stage to project development. And we are also at the stage where we are eventually going to take the company public. So in terms of business proposal, this is really in that scope of pre-RTO private TSXV listing in the second half of 2023. And we saw a benefit there for whoever invests, and so there'll be a bit of that in this conversation, but that's the essence of it. Low-cost project development at Alacran. In fact, most of the drilling we've done this year is to add resource. We are extending the known mineralization and extending potential for additional resource at Alacran in the high sulfidation epithermal zones. And there is a significant porphyry as well that, if you're not familiar with, we'll be talking about that today as well. And then another project which is in the portfolio is Opasura. And Opasura, they are all in Sonora, and I'll speak more about that. Opasura is fully permitted and is just ready for production. So it's a great opportunity for us in terms of near-term cash flow. So that's one other reason. And then there's optionality in the pipeline. There's a gold-copper high sulfidation system out of Promontorio, which is severely underexplored, and we want to take advantage of that, as well as retain equity in a spin-off of some battery metals that are in the portfolio. And then we have the team to do it. So my background is geological engineering. I worked for AngloGold Ashanti for 13 years, worked for Newmont for 11 years, worked for Klondex 2 years, started Elam Mining. If you're familiar with Arizona Sonoran Copper Company, I started that company, and the Cactus Project near Phoenix, between Phoenix and Tucson, is a company that I started, and we have been very successful. We have the right teams to do it. And so we take advantage of projects. Like we go in there and we go and add value to it. And so that is the team that is going to advance these projects. All right, so I mentioned 8 projects. The core assets are the Alacran, Opasura, and Promontorio. Alacran and Opasura in Sonora. As I mentioned, precious metals as well as base metals, and Promontorio is in Chihuahua. Those are the core assets for Bendito. And the next is the battery assets, the Alcia, is in Sonora as well, and a Telix project. And then there are some that are non-core to us. They are non-core to us. Those are San Agustin in Durango, Panchita, and El Tecolote. If anybody wants to do a deal in that regard, we are open to a joint venture. We're open to some kind of a partnership. We're open to anything. So it's a great opportunity. In essence, what we would also be doing is to see what other people are doing and to see where we can do partnerships as well. So that opens the door. I really wanted to do that in this meeting to let everybody know that our doors are open for transactions for business and for arrangements, and we will be picking up other interests as well. So the team is myself. I mentioned how long I've been in the industry. Paul Hewitt is currently the chairman and CEO of Karora Resources in Australia, but I work with Paul at Newmont, and we went to work together at Klondex. We sold it to Hecla, and we started Elim together, and we are working on Bendito. Very strong teams. Steve Filipovich, if you are familiar with I-80 in Nevada, and Steve and Ewan Downey are those guys from Premier Gold. And then Jeff Stieber, Facundo Cazares is Sonoran based. He's our VP for exploration and a country manager as well. Facundo is very familiar with most of the people in this conference, as well as Anthony Bottrell, who's based in Australia. So that is the team. There are others that support us, but this is the core of the management for these projects that we picked up and are advancing. Now, I mentioned catalysts for us. I mentioned that there are key things that we do. So we get in and turn things around quickly, add value. So for Alacran, what we're doing in the short term, we've done RC drilling, and I'll be showing you a bit of that. We'll be transitioning into diamond drilling. And our objective there in the short term is to report an inferred resource. Azure Minerals had some reported statements, JOC statements. We have a 43101 update, which is coming out. But our objective is in the short term to report a 43101 resource for Azure for Alacran that goes beyond what Azure did, and do some additional metallurgical test work, and then have a maiden 43101 report. So that is a major catalyst for us. We tend to go in and go do the work immediately. So that is our focus usually. And then there is a porphyry system there at Alacran, which we'll be pursuing as well. Some of you may be familiar with it. And we'll do some more work at Opasura. I mentioned to you, Opasura is fully permitted, and we would take advantage of that and get some production going quickly at Opasura. So those are some of our targets in the short term. Talked about Alacran. Alacran is in the Cananea lineament, and I don't know, this thing doesn't seem to be working well for me here. There. All right, so you can see the Cananea lineament right there, and other projects that you're familiar with are like El Pilar, down to Grupo Mexico's Cananea operations. Essentially, we're sharing boundaries with Grupo Mexico. We have very good relations with them. You also Alfonso here presenting earlier this week. But that is the kind of arrangement we have with them. We have easement to have access to the property. And the current known resource, which was developed by Azure for the high sulfidation epithermal, gold and silver, is about 500,000 gold equivalent ounces. And our objective in the short term is to take it to at least 1 million and 1.5 million. And I'll show you where we are headed with respect to that. And then, because we know that there's potential for that growth, and then there are other targets in that whole land package that will be advancing as well. And that is what you see right here. This is Cananea right here. So you see both precious metals, or gold, silver, epithermal. This is a high sulfidation epithermal system. And there's a porphyry system right there that we'll be taking advantage of. So this is this whole area combined strike length is about 1.3 kilometers. Mesa de Plata is predominantly silver, and Loma Bonita is predominantly gold. The combined resource here, which Azure put out and we have updated recently, is about 500,000 gold equivalent ounces. Our initial drilling is the red dots you see there, and that is most of that work we did with RC, and is to extend the strike length to the southeast. So we based on our geologic mapping, based on some soil anomalies that we're pursuing and all that, we knew that the trend was northwesterly southeast. And so we decided to test that structure and test the trend as well. And so that's where we've made very good and interesting intercepts in the very short term. Some of them, like, I'll point to a few, but hole 7, for instance, this one is almost from surface. You are talking about like 2 meters from surface, okay? And your intercept is about 1.5 grams a ton, gold equivalent, 25 meters of that. So it's very near surface in all oxide material, not hit any sulfides yet. All oxide. This is a low strip opportunity. We know that because it's oxide with initial metallurgical test work, we do know this is going to leach. So there's opportunity for low strip, leachable, simple production right here. Great opportunity, and that is what we are currently working on to extend to the south, to the southeast, and the continuity is there. It's very exciting. So that's what you see in long section here, and the inset down here is that section, which you see right up there, and you see what we're actually trending. It's the northwest southeast coming all the way down here, and the objective here is to make sure that we can extend that resource, which was previously done in this area, Mesa de Plata, Loma Bonita. But those were the holes that I indicated earlier on, and these are all, and there is potential beneath that. We know there's potential beneath that, there's potential for some sulfides beneath that, but the current known oxidized area showing good grade and great opportunity for near-term operations here, and so we want to take advantage of it. And it's about 1.4 kilometers strike length known now. There are extensions to it that we'll be talking about. But what I really want to talk about is to show that these kinds of operations are happening here in Mexico and making a ton of money. So, heap leach oxide projects in Mexico, you would see quite a number of these projects. And let me turn around here and show them. Like La Herradura, I used to work for Newmont, so I know La Herradura quite well. Los Filos, Mulatos, La India, Camino Rojo. All these projects are heap leach and low strip in some instances, similar grades like what we are finding at Alacran, and they are printing money for the owners. So Camino Rojo is in the same situation. You see initial capital was around 126 million. Their 2P reserves is about 1.6 million ounces at a grade of 0.73 grams. See right there, our grade, as I showed you, is more than 1 gram, 1.x to say 1.5 grams. That is in that ballpark. Production of about 100,000 ounces, and all-in sustaining cost is under $100 an ounce. That is the guidance is there for 2023. That is the kind of project we are going to get at Alacran. Agnico's La India is in a similar situation. Their initial capex was around 160 million. Their 2P reserves is shy of 1 million ounces, and the grade is similar. So that also gives you an indication that we are in that same camp of generating cash from these investments, and Alacran is a great opportunity. The same for Mulatos, Alamos, similar type mineralization, similar type opportunity for mining methods there as well. And so that's a great opportunity in a sense of the cost to get it into production. So that for us is a good thing. Now, on this slide, what I wanted to point out is where we're at now. If you can see the very top, and this thing works better here. So the very top here is the known resource. That is Mesa de Plata here, Loma Bonita. I indicated this is more predominantly silver, predominantly gold. The extension here to the southeast is more consistent with Loma Bonita, which is a lot more gold. So the gold equivalent, that's the reason why we're calling it gold equivalent, is based on that. And that's the extension we're coming through here. So this is the high sulfidation area. There's some sub-epithermal veining system here, which is all mineralized. What you see here are just rock chip samples. So these rock chip samples, you're seeing somewhere like 1.4 grams gold and over 300 grams silver. And in some places, you have just over a kilo gold of silver, as well as 658 grams in silver in certain places. But these are just rock chip samples from the veins that we have been mapping recently. And there is the Alacran porphyry right there. So there's a great opportunity in this district. And as I mentioned earlier on, it is part of the Cananea lineament, and it's just next to Grupo's Cananea operations. You know, in mining, we say that mines are found where mines exist. This is just next to one of the world-class copper projects. And we know that this is going to be a big operation. So we are very excited about that. And if you want to engage some more to talk, you think you want to provide certain services, we're all good for that. All right, so I indicated that earlier on, but I won't belabor this point here. In fact, some of the intercepts we're seeing here to a bit to this area where we have the propylitic footprint is showing some very, very good, like 30 meters of 0.68% copper. Just for context, we know what Cananea's operation, what grades they are mining there, like a 0.3%. So we know that in these kinds of grades are most likely going to be in production. So the next project I want to talk about briefly is Opasura. Opasura has significant high-grade zinc lead. It's a manto system. And we have, since we acquired it, done additional geologic work. So the team's out in terms of mapping it. We've not drilled it yet, but done some mapping and reviewing of most of the work that has been done in the past. And on account of that, we have put out the first 43101 report on this project. We know, based on the work that was done previously, and Azure's initial intention to take some portion of it into production, that this project can go into production in the next 12 to 18 months. It is fully permitted on the east side and ready to go. So we are very excited about this because it gives initial cash flow. You remember when I talked to you earlier on, I said, this is the reason why we came to Mexico, because there's prolific lands, prolific opportunities, and it gives us the joy to realize we can get something into production in the short term. We know there were revisions in the mining law, but we're still optimistic that this is going to go into production in the short term. So our objective here would be a phased development. It will be phase one it will be predominantly more in the underground area. There is a ramp system which has access to the ore, and we'll go in there and go and mine, and then continue with all the additional work and transition it into a full-blown project. But the first phase would be where we currently have access, and it's high-grade material. Most of the work that Azure did in this area. As you can see, that's the land package. The east area, so AA prime, this cross-section here, AA prime, it shows the east and the west. The central area that you see here had only 2 holes there that showed very good grades. In fact, let me give you an example of some of the grades we saw here. Hole 112 shows 9.5 meters at 15.1% zinc and 3.8% lead, 22 grams per ton silver. That grade is good for zinc and lead. And indeed, when I was talking about the first phase of work we're going to do for the development of the project, that first phase, the grade is going to be between 15 to 18% zinc equivalent grade, first phase. So there's a great opportunity here at Opasura. There's opportunity for additional transactions and land deals we want to do to be able to grow the opportunity here. And so we come at this with a lot of excitement, knowing how much we can bring growth to this area and get this into production soon. And then, so I mentioned it's permitted already. There was some mining. This material, in fact, when you go underground, use an XRF machine, you see grades around 40% zinc. It's very high grade in the mantles. So this is really high grade material. And I just want to mention briefly Promontorio. So Promontorio is in Chihuahua. The work that since we acquired it, I mentioned that we acquired Azure's projects only 11 months ago. We have not done any work here yet, but the previous work and the drilling that occurred here, some of the intercepts are very interesting. This is like a high grade, high sulfidation, has a potential for a porphyry system beneath it. And look at some of the grades, 30.4% copper, 1.67 grams gold. And it's chalcocite, ladies and gentlemen, chalcocite. We can leach chalcocite nowadays. Nowadays, even there's technology to potentially leak chalcopyrite. So there's a great opportunity we have here at Promontorio, and we would be doing some more work here. Thankfully, we got our exploration permits just May. In the midst of all the mining law, we had our permits to advance our exploration here. So we'll be setting up stage and stand by and look out for all the great results and the expectation for growth that will bring to Promontorio, what's in Chihuahua. But it all comes with a lot of excitement to us. So, all right, so as I indicated, I'm available for any questions or any follow-up thing you'd like. If you want to know more, you want to participate, you want to provide your services, you want to invest, you want to do anything or partner with us on some of the projects, you want to JV, I'm available. All right, any questions? Anything? All right, thank you.